The Umbrella Academy has some of the most interesting characters on television and streaming today. It's one of the only shows that fully leans into the wackier side of comic book esque characters, especially when we take a look at some of their antagonists like Cha Cha and Hazel, or the Swedes in season 2. Throughout this colorful world, we're introduced to one of the standout characters and perhaps the center point of the whole narrative, a 13-year-old boy. Wait, no, a time traveling 58-year-old assassin stuck in a 13-year-old's body. He's trapped in time for 45 years, or what it seems like eternity to him, until he finally discovers a way back home, a way back to what he believes to be his timeline. Number 5 is the only one of the 7 children that remains unnamed, perhaps due to his premature disappearance before they all received what we consider real names. His disappearance was, of course, caused by his overwhelming ego. The father, Sir Reginald Hargreaves, had warned him, correction, ordered him to not time travel, as he understood the mind boggling complexity of hopping through time, warning him that it is unquantifiable just how much more complex it is to time travel than warping through space, also known as teleportation. As Klaus points out later in the series, that's number 1 for those that are unaware, aka Big Muscly, um, or Ape Boy. 5 had always believed himself to be the most superior of the 7 within the Umbrella Academy. With his advanced intellect, sharp tactical prowess, boldness, and an insanely powerful ability, one can see why perhaps he may just be a little bit arrogant. Raised in a dysfunctional family, video essay on that coming soon, full of superpowered kids by a billionaire father who purchased them from their biological parents, an android mother, a monkey uncle type figure by the name of Pogo. It is clear why perhaps he, alongside his brothers and sisters, are all just a little bit jaded, just a little bit lonely, just a little bit damaged. Now imagine such an insanely interesting character being depicted by a then 15-year-old actor, Aidan Gallagher, who manages to somehow play and portray a 58-year-old time-traveling, space-hopping assassin stuck in a child's body, and executes this role with such pizzazz, awe, and confidence rarely seen with such a young actor, a masterclass in character portrayal. Alas, one of the key aspects that makes Number 5 such an intriguing character is his relationship with his family. How, despite all the airs he puts on about not caring and all the smarter than thou bravado, he truly cares about them all in his own pesky, weird, and unique way. One must understand that unlike the rest of his siblings, he didn't spend nearly as much time with them as they did with each other. I mean, he did go missing, with the potential exception of 7, of course, aka Vanya. Having been lost in time for 45 years, despite this massive gap in time, he never stopped chasing his goal of saving his family. Despite him always mentioning the world and how he's trying to save the world, it is rather clear that his family is the driving factor for his actions. Perhaps driven by loneliness, he began to appreciate them far more. His lack of pragmatism is questioned by the handler, who wonders why he insists on trying to save the world and his family when he, of all people, should understand how futile that is. And this is another character trait that we really begin to fully flesh out throughout the show. Even when meeting them, his family that is, after such a long time, he wasted no time in celebration. His focus remained intact and clear, pragmatism at its finest. Saving his family and the world as a result was his primary objective. His arc is one of trust, believing himself to be above the rest of his siblings. He did not initially believe they could be of help to him. As a result, he ultimately believes that he fails in preventing the end of the world and decides that he must time travel again in an attempt to redo everything, but in turn seems to potentially make everything worse. As the timeline he restarted had Vanya, on Number 7, discover Harold's secret far before she reached a point of no return. Luthor had finally confessed to Allison, and so much more. By not confiding in his brother and sisters, he ultimately may have damaged the only possible timeline without an apocalypse. His return in that timeline may perhaps be the trigger in the first place, but that's just a theory for another time. By the end of season 1, 5 is far more willing to work with his family and begins to open up, as solitude makes it harder to open up to those that you love the most. All his actions, despite his words, show a character who is broken, lonely, but clings on to this hope and belief in his own ability to fix something that is seemingly predestined. A bitter old man manages to understand the importance of others, but unfortunately his understanding comes too little too late, and not yet fully nourished. He, despite all of his aptitude, continues to make the same mistakes the whole family had with his own treatment of Vanya. Ultimately, the Umbrella Academy is a story about family affairs and how one particular family impacts many potential timelines, and how both the trigger and the explosion that causes the end of the world. Despite being a 58-year-old man, number 5 is still a child in the grand scheme of things, biting off far more than he can chew. But all hope is not lost yet, because he realizes that no matter what they do, unless they stop or save Vanya, it is all in vain. How romantic, and yet how ironic. The same ones that caused the apocalypse are the very same ones attempting to prevent it. It's been your boy Supreme Uchiha the God. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more video essays. I'm going to do a few short and sweet essays like this about many of the characters. I know there's probably a bunch of stuff that I missed, but that's kind of on purpose. I wanted to keep it focused and clean and concise, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm out.